Hi guys, here's a few simple, really quick exercises that you can do to increase your hip and leg mobility. The one thing that you're going to need for this video is a strap. So you can use a lot of things. If you've got a TheraBand that's like a little stretchier, if you've got a belt, or even like a sweatshirt, you can use the sleeves. You can get creative here. You don't need to have a yoga strap, but if you do, that's great. Whatever it is, you're going to grab that and lay down on your back. So as we're going through these exercises, the one principle that's going to carry through all of them is having a neutral spine. So if you think about the natural shape of a spine, you've got that curve inward at the lower back. So for me, my neutral spine when I'm laying down, I've got my lower back lifted off the floor slightly. And every spine is different, obviously. So as you're laying down, first just take notice of what you think is your neutral spine. So to explore that, you can place your hands on your hips. And as you inhale, tilt your hips forward so that the lower back lifts off the floor. The tailbone is kind of pressing more into the floor. And then exhale the opposite way. Exhale, pull the belly button in. The hips tilt back, the lower back is pressing on the floor. So those are kind of like the two extremes, and you can move between the two as you breathe and work with your hip placement to find a spot in between that feels really comfortable. It just feels like the spine has all of the room that it needs. It doesn't feel like you're pushing it into or forcing it into a position. So keeping that in mind, really feel what this neutral spine is so that you can find it. Anytime I mention neutral spine, you can go back to this feeling and know that you're in that position. So you'll grab your strap, and we're just going to start really small. You're just going to lift the right leg off the floor and wrap the strap or whatever it is around the top of the shin. So normally people want to pull the leg into the chest, and instead you're going to think of pulling the leg straight down into the hip socket. So you're essentially connecting your femur bone down into the hip socket, giving it that deeper connection and stretch at the hip joint. So all the while, you keep that neutral spine. So you're going to probably have that natural tendency, that natural urge to push the low back on the floor. Try to avoid that. We want to feel that the movement and the activity here is right at the hip. So you keep that tension with the leg pulling straight down, lengthened spine, and then you can take the leg in gentle circles. Really small range of movement, nothing crazy. And then reverse the circle. Now the nice thing with these straps or whatever it is that you're using, you have a lot of options here. So I'm going to give you a few things that you can do, but you can explore and just kind of do what feels best for you. As long as you're keeping that principle in mind of the neutral spine, you are going to be able to be working with the hip. So you can use the strap with your leg bent, take the strap into just together in the hands, and open the leg out to the side. As long as you're using your hands to support you, you can take whatever movement feels good. Opening the hip out and bringing it back in. Keep this other leg stable so the knee doesn't splay out to the side. You keep it sturdy. While it's out to the side, you can also take little circles, maintaining neutral spine, especially as you're pulling the knee, as the knee comes closer to the chest. Keep the neutral spine. So if you press the lower back down, you're going to round in the spine, and you're going to disconnect from the hip. You're not getting that benefit of the hip opening. So keep the spine neutral so that this can be working with the hip. And then when you're ready, bring the leg back to center. Take the strap around the ball of the foot. So now you're going to extend the leg up. Press the ball of the foot, so it's just below the toes. That bony part of the foot is pressing against your strap, pushing the leg up. So keep the leg active. If I relax my foot, or if the strap is around my toes, I could long story short, I could cause some tension and some pain in my knee. So keep the strap around the ball of the foot and keep that part of the foot active, pushing against the strap. Keep that tension. And then from here, you can work with bending and straightening the knee, so it can be more hugging the femur bone to the chest and then extending it away. Or it can be bending from the knee and just extending there. You can take a lot of different movements depending on what feels good for you, keeping that neutral spine though. So however you want to work with that mobility with the hamstring or with the hip. This is going to be more hamstrings, just bending from the knee. But if you're also pulling the leg into the chest, that's going to work more with the hip too. So, I mean, wherever you're at, if that means that you're here and you're just moving a little bit, that's great. Whatever is accessible for you is what you should be doing. It shouldn't necessarily look exactly how it looks for me doing these exercises. Keep that tension at the strap with your foot, and then you can move the leg out to the side. So here you can do the same thing. You can be bending right at the knee. You can be working on pulling the leg to the chest. You can take little circles. Again, like I said, there's so much you can do here. You can really explore with what feels best. Those main principles to keep in mind with whatever you're doing is maintaining neutral spine, keeping the opposite foot pressing down, the knee pulling in so that it's straight. And then after that, you keep the tension between the strap and your foot, and you can just kind of move where it feels good. So whatever that movement is, you can even move it over to the opposite side, crossing over the body. But as you do that, try to avoid rolling the leg out. So think of the leg rolling inward so that the knee isn't pointing up to the ceiling. It's going to start pointing more toward your body, or even like you're feeling like it's going to start pointing down to the floor. When you're ready, you can release, and we're going to go to the other side. So making sure you've got a neutral spine, bringing this strap around the top of the shin. Start with just hugging the leg down into the femur bone. Every inhale, you just feel that breath travel up the back of the body. So lengthening the spine, filling up the back of the rib cage. Now you can take circles, really small range of motion. You just feel that deepening with the leg moving around the hip socket. So as you're moving in circles, you're still pulling down. Reverse the circle. Check in with your spine. And then you can bring the strap together in your hands, open the leg out to the side, and back in. Whatever feels best for you, you can leave the leg out to the side. You can start pulling the knee into the chest, keeping neutral spine though. So just explore, see what feels good. Here, especially so when we're first trying some sort of exercise, you want to get the logistics of the movement, and that's great. That's what you should be doing. After you get more comfortable with these movements, then you can start really using the breath. So every inhale, the main principle is to keep it lengthening, keep the body open and lengthened. And with every exhale, you focus on stability. So your exhale pulls the belly button in, you make sure this leg is grounding you, you make sure that the leg or the foot is pushing against the strap. Those are the main principles. So inhale, lengthen, exhale, stabilize. And then we'll bring the strap around the ball of the foot. Again, pressing the strap as you lengthen the leg as much as it feels comfortable. If you're here, that's great. If you're here, that's great. If you're here, that's great. And you can work with either bending right at the knee, keeping the strap tight against the foot, or pulling the leg into the chest a little bit more. Maintaining neutral spine. Be cautious of your knees. So the tension in the strap against the foot keeps the knee protected. And then again, you can move over to the side, take whatever movement feels good. Keeping those principles there. Maybe taking circles. Give yourself a moment to really tune into the body and notice how the body feels. So you don't have to have the expectation that what feels good for my body, what I'm doing, is what is going to be best for you. If it feels better to stay still or just work with one movement, then you do that. Just make sure that you're listening to the body. Keeping neutral spine. And then when you're ready, you can remove the strap. So the next pose that we are going to work with is eagle pose. Normally eagle pose is done standing up, but we're going to do it sitting down so that you can really focus on it. It turns into a balance if you're standing up. So we're going to not worry about the balance, we're just going to worry about the work that it's doing for our legs. And it's actually doing something for our shoulders too. So to start off, your right leg is going to cross over your left. So whatever that means for you. If you've got it here, that's great. If you can wrap it around, that's great too. Whatever that is, the legs are squeezing together. Feel that hugging sensation as the legs extend up so the shin bones are about parallel to the floor. So you're hugging the legs together. You can stay here, especially if you just want to think about the hips, but keep that squeezing with the legs hugging in together. You can take a break anytime you need to, opening the legs out, whatever you need, but feel that hugging motion with the legs. And then if you want to add the arms, it would be the opposite. So you'd bring the right arm in front, left arm underneath. So the main principle is the elbows hugging together, and then however close you can get the forearms toward each other, that's where you're headed. But if bringing the forearms together means that you have to jet the shoulders forward, take the forearms apart to a point where you can relax the shoulders down. So the elbows are pushing together, the legs are squeezing together, and then you come to your breath. So you inhale, lengthen the spine, spreading the fingertips apart, spreading the toes apart, and then you exhale, pulling the belly button in, grounding through the hips, squeezing the arms and legs together. Keeping the shoulders soft. Maybe after you've been there for a while, you can wrap the legs a little tighter. Maybe you can bring the forearms closer together. Just see, but don't go too far. Just listen to your body. And then when you're ready, gently release the arms out to the sides, palms up, uncross the legs and open the knees out to the sides. Just take a break here before we go to the other side. So feel your inhale, lengthen the spine, finding a neutral spine. Now when you're ready, exhale, pull the belly button in as you draw the knees in together, bottoms of the feet come on the floor. And we'll go to the other side. So left leg crosses over the right, again, wherever that is for you. Hug the legs together as you bring the shins parallel to the floor. So feel that squeezing, hugging, and you don't want the legs to be too far away. We're not turning this into an ab workout. So the femur bone is like perpendicular to the floor pretty much. So have that position where you feel comfortable and you can just be working with the hips and the legs. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you also add on the arms. So for this, it'd be left arm in front, right arm underneath. Softening the shoulders down into the floor, relax, rather than hugging them up to the neck and the ears. As you press the elbows against each other, press the legs toward each other, you take an inhale and lengthen the spine, spread the fingers, spread the toes. You take an exhale, pull the belly button in, ground through the hips. Keep your breath moving through the body. maybe you can wrap the legs more, bring the forearms closer together. And then when you're ready, release the arms out to the sides, uncross the legs, knees come out to the sides. So when you're in this position, the bottoms of the feet are off the floor. I don't have my feet on the floor and then I'm trying to open my knees out. They're completely off the floor. It's just that outer edge of the foot on the floor. Now your last movement is called falling bridge. So the arms can be wherever. They can be resting on the body, they can be out to the sides. Usually out to the sides is a good form of like foundation, a good stabilizer, so it's up to you. But the bottoms of the feet are on the floor, neutral spine. Take a couple breaths here. And on your next exhale, you're going to let the knees gently tilt to the right. Then you inhale, lift the legs back to center, and exhale them to the left. So your inhale brings the legs up, the exhale takes them down. The movement is steady, it's controlled, so you're not letting the legs drop. You're keeping both shoulder blades on the floor. So if that means that you can't twist the legs as far, then you don't twist them as far. So it's a twist from the spine. Take one more to each side. And then when you're done, bring the legs back to center. And then you can find a comfortable seat and go on with your day.